Alright, so the latest ban list brought us some calamity. And by calamity, we got the return of Morphing Jar and Card Destruction. I think it was apparent that these two cards were meant to kind of make a comeback to help improve the overall Danger archetype. Now, I'm not a super big fan of having these two cards existing in the same format because these two cards promote absolute degeneracy. And it's not that they're bad on their own, it's when you combine them together that really bad things happen. Now, I know a lot of you are newer players, or you might have forgotten about these decks, and Austin sent me these. I don't know where he dug them up from this week or something, so original, whatever is out there for these. But I wanted to look at these decks because it's important to be aware of Empty Jar. Now, I'm not saying that these decks are good. No, not at all. This is to one, give you a building block of where to go with Empty Jar. I've seen some different concepts for the deck. I'm not exactly sure what the most consistent is. I mean, you've got Shallow Grave for revivability. You've just got a lot of fucking tech choices that you can honestly do with this deck. And I think a lot of people are kind of discounting this deck to be dead because Ash Blossom exists right now. But Ash is once per turn. Alright, so that's kind of something I do want to point out. Depending on when you activate Ash, your opponent Book of Moons, our boy Jar, you might be in for a really bad situation, depending on how things go. It's not like they can't reuse the Jar or anything more than once Baka, so it's kind of something to understand here. But these decks promote this level of uninteractivity with the game. And I'm not going to say I don't like talking about degenerate decks, but I think it's important to be aware, once again, that, hey, if you're going to a regional, if you're going to locals, you know, your localized troll player might actually be playing this. So if you want to know what to do against the deck, hold your hand traps for what you think to be the right opportunity. If your opponent is getting ready to flip a jar and they're on no resources, and your opponent doesn't have an active Book of Moon or Book of Eclipse, then understand that that's the appropriate time to resolve it. If your opponent's on 5 cards and they're flipping Morphing Jar, you can bet their ass that there's a book coming to ruin your day. You know, so just, you have to have played against this deck enough. The deck's not as consistent as it wants to be or look. The rule is typically if the deck looks good on paper, it's not going to function. And you'll see with the two Empty Jar decks I'm going to talk about here that things are going to be, I don't know, there's different ways to go about it. It's much like Six Samurai. There's True King Samurai, and there's the Firewall Loop. You got all kinds of fucking weird-ass things that you can do with these variants. So let's dig on into the first deck. So this deck wants to Morphing Jar your opponent as many times as you can. You have access to a little card called AD Changer. AD Changer, banish this card from your graveyard, then target one monster on the field, change its battle position. The thing that you do with this is when you set the Morphing Jar off of the Book of Eclipse, you'll use this banish it from the graveyard to force the monster to go into attack mode. You can't use this to reset the monster. That's not what we care about here. We care that this is a level 1, that we can banish it from the graveyard to target one monster on the field, change its battle position. Now this one doesn't play Shallow Grave because this one plays Card of Demise and things like that, so understand your variants and things that you're getting yourself into there. Only one copy of Morphing Jar. Some builds you can play, some builds we're playing Morphing Jar 2 for more of the existential burst down, but we can't do that anymore because it's banned. You can also look to Needleworm. The second build plays a copy of Needleworm. I don't think you want to go too crazy with Needleworm, just because, sure, it's a guaranteed 5, but it kind of spooks me with the things that we can hit. Now, of course, you have to play 3 copies of Book of Eclipse, change all face-up monsters on the field to face-down defense mode. During the end phase of this turn, flip as many face-down monsters your opponent controls as possible face-up, then your opponent draws cards equal to the number of monsters flipped face-up by this card effect. We're in a different time now. You don't get as much spicy value off of this as you actually think you would. Member links can't go face down. I think that might be some of the reasoning why they brought this back. If worst comes to worst, they'll eventually just hit Book of Eclipse, but here we are in this day and age. So, their Book of Eclipse, 1 Book of Moon, quick play. It's almost like we have 4 quick play spells to reset our jar. Then we have Triple Book of Tayo. Flip 1 face-down monster into face-up attack position. So this is going to work with your 7 copies of Book. All you do is reflip Jar, continue to draw. Now we're playing 2 copies of Called by the Grave. I think one of the worst things that can happen to you playing this deck is you run into that existential hand trap. You walk into that Ash Blossom, you go have a shitty time. Now, I know the other build's not playing this, and I kind of feel that this card can be a brick. To be honest with you, I think this is going to be something that you're going to have to make your own decision on wanting to play, just because... do you lose to the hand trap or do you not lose to the hand trap? That's going to be the question you're going to have to do. But people playing this deck are just going to want to ruin a couple people's days. Card Destruction is going to be the card that you're going to use at the end of the Morphing Jar, just to make sure that you're getting the game-winning kill. 3 copies of Card Demise. Now, the thing I kind of find interesting with this deck is you're playing a lot of once-per-turn clauses, and Demise is a guaranteed draw 3, but I don't know how many of these cards you're going to be able to use in a turn. So... extra draw power is nice, but it's kind of up in the air with just how much you're going to be resolving these. So just kind of something to take note of. Triple copies Cup of Ace. This is another card that you can kill your opponent. If you deck out your opponent, you don't have another way to draw cards. Use Cup of Ace, flip a coin, punish your opponent. We've seen this card be used in almost every degenerate deck through the game's history, so it's a no excuse for it not to be here. And then 3 copies of Dark World Dealings, just more existential draw power. You would used to use Sangan in this deck to go search for the jar, which we can't do anymore. Thank you, Erratas. So that's something. Playing 1 copy of Foolish Barrel, dropping the AD changer to ensure that we can flip things is very crucial. Triple copies of Hand Destruction. Yep, more draw power. I mean, you need to get these things in the graveyard. I mean, ditching bad Book of Moons is also going to suck. Triple copies of Into the Void, 1-for-1 cards, absolutely fine. 3 copies of Magical Mallet. This is actually very interesting. I've seen a lot of people kind of stray away from this, but I don't think that this is a bad choice in this particular deck. Magical Mallet to shuffle back in dead cards to draw better cards is not particularly a bad thing. Just make sure while you're playing this deck, you just have to make sure that you're managing your resources. You need to know what your full library is capable of doing, so it's kind of something to pay attention to. 2 copies of Magical Stone Excavation. Discard 2 target spell card in your graveyard, add it back to your hand. Playing 3 of this is too much. 2 is fine, honestly. 1 copy of One Day of Peace. If you can't kill your opponent, use this, get the game through to your next turn. As long as your opponent's not playing Goki, you should not have a terrible time. And then Triple Pot of Duality, same thing, same logic with Card Demise, just want to make sure you see it. And 1 copy of Upstart Goblin. So that's this list. Now the next one, a little bit more interesting. So Spirit of the Fall Wind. On normal summon, you can add a foot monster from your deck to your hand. You typically are going to use this to grab Jar. Probably discard the Jar and revive it off of Shallow Grave. Shallow Grave, for those of you that don't know, Shallow Grave, each player selects a monster in the graveyard and special summons it in face-down defense position. This particular build, I don't know why this one's playing Creature Swap, honestly. This just seems a little bit crazier in my opinion. I do like the fact that this build is using the Bamboo Engine. I was thinking about the Bamboo Engine as like another alternative. We've definitely seen this more or less with the current 6 Samurai builds, but I don't think this is something that you want to be doing. This build is also playing Swords of Concealing Light and Swords of Revealing Light to try to slow down your opponent, but I think compared to the other build, going for the first build is probably going to be the one I'm going to stare more towards, but this just gives you more options. If this special summoned the Flip Effect monster, I would be more inclined to want to play this, but it doesn't seem as good. Also, 1 copy of Needleworm just for the kind of final burst down. So anyway, this list is 1 AD Changer, 1 Morphing Jar, 1 Needleworm, triple Spirit of the Wind, triple Book of Eclipse, 1 Book of Moon, triple Book of Taiyu, 1 Broken Bamboo Sword, 1 Creature Swap, or 1 Card Destruction, 2 Creature Swap. I don't know why we're playing Creature Swap, I guess just take bigger monsters from our opponent. Triple copies Cursed Bamboo Sword, triple Dark World Dealings, triple Golden Bamboo Sword, triple Hand Destruction, triple Magical Stone Excavation, 1 One Day of Peace, 2 Swords of Concealing Light, 1 Swords of Revealing Light, triple the Shallow Grave, and 1 Upstart Goblin. Honorable mention, Serial Spell. Copying another spell card in your graveyard to make sure that you can further kill your opponent. Something that you can do. And also in your side deck, you can get really cute and use Dice Jar. Both players roll 6-sided dice. The player with the lower result takes damage equal to the opponent's roll times 500. If that winner's roll is a 6, that loser takes 6,000 damage. If they roll the same, both players will re-roll the dice. I don't particularly. This is strictly gimmicky, but I think the first build is probably going to be where you're going to want to start for concepts and theories. It seems like a good way to ruin somebody's day at the YCS. So, the deck goes relatively fast, honestly. So, one, if you're playing this deck, make sure you know what you're doing. If you're playing against the deck, make sure you know what you're doing. Just well time your hand traps and things like that. And if you're playing this, make sure that you're a former empty jar player and you know what you're doing. So, alright guys, that's all I have for this video. Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think about this deck, and I'm out. Peace. The ride never ends, guys. Make sure you enable those notifications to get the latest videos that are being posted on this channel. Make sure you guys check out VanCole40 for my Cardfight Vanguard channel. And join me and House of Champions on the Zodiac Duelist TV Twitch stream. We'll be interacting with our audiences. And please check out No Limit Gaming and LGTCG.com for the cheapest trading cards on the market. Thanks for watching, guys, and please have a good day.